Blessings, goddesses. It's Allie here with Anaiya Sophia, and we are just feeling so blessed to have her presence here with us today. Anaiya is a Kundalini yoga teacher, an initiated priestess of the Rose line, part of the Grail lineage. She leads workshops online and around the world, awakening soulful sexuality, sacred sexual union, womb wisdom, and she is an author of some of my very, very favorite books. I'll show you a couple of them. This one's Sacred Sexual Union. I read this on the beach in Thailand, and it was the book I was reading when I ended up marrying myself and just really coming to know my own masculine and inner feminine, and with the presence of spirit and the inner weaving of each of those elements, as well as she has written Womb Wisdom, which is another amazing book and a wonderful tool for us to get to know our womb and the energies of our womb better. So I just want to say thank you, Anaiya, for being here. You've been such a big mentor for me. I have been loving your Taking the War Out of Man workshop that I've also been taking, your online program. I've been taking that class with one of my male friends and just really learning how to support our brothers with this rising feminine, and how to support our brothers in their own vulnerability when they're experiencing these shifts too. So you have been such a sacred mentor for me, and we are so grateful to have you here with us today. So thank you, my dear. Honoring you.
Allie, thank you so much. What a lovely welcome into this great space with you.
I love it. So we've been on this journey with women. We're about halfway through, and in this process, we've been creating a really solid foundation with our hormones, with self-love practices, with nutrition. We've been clearing out the womb blocks and really starting to awaken the womb and feeling that great creatrix energy. And so what I love what you talk about is you teach about the 10 bodies of light in ancient Egypt, and you teach about the Ab, which is the body of love, and the ability to forgive, freedom and expression, that longing for union and intimacy. And in this portion of our workshop, we are starting to uncover our heart's art, our sacred purpose, and really connecting the womb to the heart, this creatrix energy with the heart, which is, bringing our desires into this space with love and with universal love and helping the whole. And so, if there's anything you care to share on that, just about the Ab, the body of love, or anything that's coming up for you that you want to share with us, we would love to receive your transmissions.
Well, I must say I'm very much in the mood today. I'm doing an online yoga class at the moment, a 21-day, and we're very much in the sacral chakra today. So as I said to you before I jumped on the call, I've been dancing this afternoon and taking photos and videos and just like watching. So one of the greatest things we do have to do is to really bring that primordial, powerful, molten furnace womb energy up into the heart. And of course, the number one question is, well, how do we do that? Meditation itself is not enough. Neither is prayer. We so got to get that body involved. So if you can imagine, this is totally what I've been doing today. So I've been listening to very tribal, serpentine, rhythmic energy. So just stirring up that womb presence, lying down on the floor with my knees bent. So doing a pelvic raise, but then lifting the arms up and overhead and insisting that that energy just pours down into the heart, and then finishing the whole dance with a very worshipful devotional prayer. And now you have a physical reality of that movement, and you will know it has happened. Well, for me, I actually start choking, but in a nice way, choking with devotion, choking with worship. There is no denying that the primordial energy is pouring into the heart, and it's obviously pouring right down into the bottom of the heart, which is a very untapped place. And so this is not superficial love. This is like a love that you gag for. It's like it's a longing. So again, you know, circle of sisters, because at first we will be a bit shy. We don't want to go that far. It's like we don't want to express ourselves that deeply, that much. But of course, a sister of circles, and it takes no time at all.
Yes, yes. And so much a part of this course is really becoming intimate with ourselves first, you know, before we're able to show up for a lover that way, or even, you know, our children or our parents, being able to become vulnerable with the self and intimate with the self and feeling that exquisite energy of movement and that deep devotion and longing. And I feel all of those things. And I know we have talked about this womb to heart connection, and there is a breath work that you do teach to help us embody that. Do you think now would be an appropriate time to help women start to feel that energy movement? Would you like to share that with us?
Yes. There's a couple of breath techniques we can do, but let's just do a longing one.
Yeah.
The longing is a very important energy for women to remain radiant, beautiful, juicy, healthy, and just basically alive. But the thing is with longing, a lot of ladies can switch their longing off once they hit a certain age, if it seems as if the beloved hasn't come. The real agonizing yet beautiful truth is that the beloved doesn't really fully show up in form. It's not meant to. The longing is always just out of reach. But the more you get into longing, the more you don't mind. The more that is so sacredly okay. And it's the same for our male beloveds. Yes, we are here in form, but what he is really reaching for is always just out of touch. And that is exactly right. And that is what keeps you moving beyond what you knew last time, beyond what you knew last time. Because the beloved, I feel, is the union, the absolute union of you both. And of course, you can't really do that fully and completely in the body. You can have glimpses, you can have moments, but it's not really meant to stay, I don't feel. So I would need music, which I don't have to hand. But if you can imagine that your hands are on the womb space, making your little triangle, and you're playing something very sensual. And so you're rotating, and you can feel your body lean into your hands and pull back. And your hands and your fingertips are absolutely enfolding over the womb and yoni space. So there's a real intimacy there. And you would be breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth with like a little sigh, a little groan. But you have to get into it first of all, so it might sound a little bit like this. Now, if you're in a room full of ladies, all making that sound, that will give you the permission for something else to start moving. And then, just like a belly dancer, you'd start getting that heart area moving as well. So the breastbone is also really putting full effort. That's it. And then after a while, we will be a little bit stiff, imagining, oh, this is a yoga class. And then eventually, whoa, then it's a real yes. And it's in through the nose and it's out through the mouth. And what you're doing is spiraling that energy up into the heart, and you want it to come up, and you're not afraid of being hurt, and you're not afraid of being let down, and you're not afraid of your prayer not being answered. You just got to do this. Exactly. And there will be squeals, and there will be all sorts of strange sounds, and that is the elixir, that is the medicine. It is so important that breath gives rise to authentic sound, not put on sound, not like, but something unknown. And you'll always know it's coming because it comes up with heat, the hairs go up on your arms and your neck, and you're like, oh, something's going to take over me. And then so surrender into it. And at first, there's a very fine chance it'll end in tears, but tears of grief laced with gratitude. So it's like a bittersweet cry. And oh, Allie, all the weird and wonderful spiritual practices I've ever done, this has its own class. And the great thing is, it's in our body. No one's giving us anything. It's in there, lying dormant, needing to awaken.
I actually literally have a tear coming out of my eye right now. And I felt it even in that short moment. I literally saw like a spiral moving up through me from my womb into my heart. And that's why I started laughing. It was this joy that was coming up, and the container you hold, of course, of what you're sharing. Yes. I love that you say that, and that you spoke of sound, and you spoke of, what was coming up for me is sometimes when we're relating with our intimacy with another person, there's we've maybe seen pornography. There's a way that women are making noises in the bedroom, and sometimes we feel that we need to do that, and it can be forced, it can be fake. And from what I'm hearing with you is this connecting with the womb and the breath and moving it up in the heart and allowing that breath and that sound and the exhale to come out naturally, and making those noises that are so connected to our primal Shakti, to our feminine essence. That's the magic, finding that voice and that energy and expressing it.
Absolutely. I love it. The pornographic world has presented us with a program. This is what you're meant to look like. This is how you're meant to sound. And especially, I'm late 40s. I really grew up, everyone's watching pornography in the 90s. This was their sex education. So you really get overlaid with this template. And, off you go into your sexual relationship and you start mimicking that behavior. It sort of breaks your heart because it's not real. So we have to do these exercises like I've just shown to kind of throw off that ridiculous program and find our own true sovereign sexual sound. And the thing is with pornography, it's kind of, what did I call it? An imposter. It's a sophisticated imposter energy that mimics true sexuality. It's close, but it's not it. Well, it's obviously not it, but the beautiful union of the bodies. Pornography is keeping us, I think, purposefully out of the sexual reality that is so very close now. And we all have a bit of programming around that. And you need a damn good bit of Shakti to overthrow it.
I'm remembering something you said in one of your books that's relating to this. It's when you come together with your partner, I know that you express that it's this, we need to feel, the woman needs to feel safe, this being able to surrender. And in that process where we're able to surrender and fully trust our partner, there's a shift that happens in the masculine, and then the masculine has to surrender their own identity, losing themselves within the other. And then when they shift, this whole alchemical process happens of sacred union with a whole new, I don't know what to call it, but a code or a whole new alchemy is formed through this. And that can't be taught in books. It can't be taught in pornography. It is something with being present in the moment and totally surrendering, being vulnerable, letting go, that this shift occurs. Yeah,
Yes.
is there anything you want to share on that?
Well, I mean, you're catching me on the right day because I've just been in this all day. But with the masculine, with the male form, all I can imagine, obviously I'm in the female body, but I do have a lot of strong masculine energy. All I can imagine is that he goes so deeply into the woman, both physically, emotionally, psychically, spiritually, that, you know, he's heading for this black hole, you know, this galactic center. He's so going there on every level, and he just simply doesn't care. He doesn't care if he's disintegrated and reformed somewhere else. That's the flavor. That's the subtlety to head for, I would say to our male listeners. Just go for the black hole. And if you've seen, you know, your science fiction movies, you know that once you're close to the black hole, you can't actually pull out anyway. That some magnetic force just grabs hold of you and draws you in. And apparently at the end of a black hole is a white hole. This is, cosmology. So you go into the black hole. This is what's really happening in our space. You totally disappear. But then you get catapulted out through a white hole, which is a sun, reborn. So there you have it. It's actually happening up above. But the masculine has to be so willing to just let go. So he's not in charge. That's the thing with the men, you see. They have the programming that they're in charge of the sexual act. They're going to guide it. They're going to drive it. They're going to say when it begins and when it ends. So he's got to let go of all of that. I'm just going in deep. You might not see me again. and this kind of allowance and letting go, you know, it's going to take some time and some practice.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I really feel that it starts with the self first, like what you teach, this sacred union, the wholeness inside, and really coming into knowing our womb, knowing our own sexual energy, and feeling a deep-rooted trust within the self first allows us to be more trustful with others and to be able to show more of our true selves with others, especially in the bedroom when it's very vulnerable and our clothes are off and our just centers are open to receive. So yeah, I feel everything you are saying. And I love that image of just the galactic, the black hole and the white hole and this transfiguration that occurs from it is beautiful. And I know that you embody that in your relationship. And it has been so beautiful to see you and Pete and even creating together in the courses that you teach together. It's been beautiful to witness you in your process. And I know you say it's not always easy, but it is beautiful to witness.
Yes. Thank you. It's an absolute honor to be, you know, in the seat, in the saddle, so to speak. You know, for so long I was just receiving this in imagination and very much receiving it in the heart. So the imagination would always produce what I would call that choking knowing of truth. This is true, but, you know, I'm still at the stage of just simply receiving the download. So now, obviously, with Pete, we're in the saddle.
Would you have a tip you'd want to share with women if they are...
Let's see what my doggy's up to.
Oh, it's your dog, did you say?
Yeah, she's like chewing a hair grip, but that's okay.
Oh. Yeah. Do you have a tip for women if they're ever feeling, you know, that a mask was put on and they're not being able to relate to their beloved, or they're just feeling a disharmony and energy flow? Is there anything you would recommend, even just from your own personal life, ways that you shift through that so that you can come in union?
Absolutely. My greatest tool is prayer. It's always been prayer. I was prayerful by nature as a child. So actually dropping into a real prayerful states very easy, you know, where I can be just a daughter, just a simple, sweet child of God, crying out for help, crying out for humility, crying out for grace. But not all of us are able to pray at that way yet. You know, maybe because of heavy religious conditioning or hippie parents, you know, and also we're just like rebelling. Another great method, I don't know if you can see behind me. Yes, you can, just in that corner. Look, there-ish, I'll point my finger. That there is a massive obsidian black sphere.
Beautiful.
Literally that big, bigger than the head. So again, very physical. So what a woman could do is sit around the big black obsidian ball, which is very good, very powerful for drawing artificiality, masks, veils, you know, inauthentic behavior, both in the body and in the mind. So she could actually sit around that, legs open, right up against her womb, right up against her root. And obviously she'd feel the physicality. So that would bring her attention down to the ground, down to the earth, and maybe even hold that great big ball and literally say, take from me all that is not real. And maybe, you know, tuning into like a darker goddess, like a Kali, a Black Madonna, an Ishtar, someone who's not going to muck around, you know, show up quickly for the prayer. Or maybe that lady needs a more compassionate energy, like a Mother Mary, a Kuan Yin. But for sure, when it comes to big works, we really have to call on something bigger than us. And reduce our status. I know that's not very Facebook friendly. You know, Facebook is saying, be great, be amazing. But when it comes to prayer, the more we can reduce our importance, but that doesn't mean I am unworthy or I am invisible. It's just come to simple source, come to simplicity, come to humility, be a child, ask for help.
That is beautiful, and thank you so much for sharing that. And I love the power, the potency of Black Obsidian. Some of the women in this course are going to be working with Black Obsidian yoni eggs, if they've chosen to work with that stone, as well as I talk about Epsom salt baths and working with a black stone. So I love that you do that, and just the mentioning of calling on something bigger than you when you're in that state. It's beautiful. Oh, Anaiya, I love it. I have just a couple more questions for you. So everything you've been sharing is just so amazing and fertile and juicy and just really expansive. So thank you for everything that you've just mentioned. And I know you talk about in your book, Womb Wisdom, about naming your womb. And yeah, and we talk a bit about Ren, of course, the light body Ren, and that sound. And when I heard that, I have not received my I don't know what to call it, my priestess name or my spiritual name yet. And I know that that'll happen when it's ready. But I love this idea of your womb receiving a name. And so when I read that, I really tapped into my womb space, and what came up was Scarlet Sapphira. And so that's what I've been naming my womb, at least for now. That's what she wants to be called. And I wanted to know if there's women who want to receive a name for their womb. Do you have any guidance as to how they can tap into that vibrational frequency and naming? And
yes, I would suggest that we start to really lean into that feminine part of us, that part of us that has no mind, yet fully intuitive. So for me, I would choose dance. I would do that inhale through the mouth, inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. So I'd get really in that kind of trance state, but not go out there, but instead funnel down and into the womb and literally say, you know, speak your name. Speak your name. Let me hear your name. And I would start playing with sound like I just let all this stuff come out. And I do believe you'll hear it. Mm-hmm. You'll hear it in the strange languaging of that deep place. So what you're trying to do is give the womb a mouth. Mm-hmm. You're going to pass your tongue and your upper palate and your ability to sound to the womb. Mm. And I often, you know, you just have to look at everyone's names, that there is this kind of like unara la shayara sound. Everyone who's going for the womb stuff kind of has this name. You know, it's very similar. If you look at the Facebook profiles, I can tell immediately by the name who's doing the womb work, because there's a flavor, there's a taste, there's a perfume to it.
I feel that like rushing up my spine. Oh, that is beautiful. Yeah, and I would think too, if women wanted to go out in nature and connect with their womb and maybe potentially receive that name there, that's where I'm feeling really primal, and I'll often just go on hikes by myself and just with that breath and movement of walking, really breathe into my womb space and make those noises, see what comes up, pray by the river. I feel that nature has great medicine for us in connecting with that energy and being alone out in nature and not feeling like, you know, sometimes we can feel nervous that people are listening, and it can be a challenge to just deeply let go and make those noises and allow it to flow. But I find being out in nature alone, or even being with the ocean and the ocean moving back and forth, pulling me, that really helps me to come into the ebbs and flows of nature, which helps me connect into my own body and my womb. And so
I just want to say it's important, you know, these strange noises and sounds that we're making. Let's just say, you know, Anisha. I'm just going to pull that one out. Anisha. Now, back in the day of temple, priestessing, sacred prostitute, even sacred dancer, you know, I've been watching the belly dancing this afternoon. We would have had names at that time. Those names would have been packed with our sacred gifts. And the utterance of that name awakens the sacred gifts, or the vague memory of the sacred gifts. There may well be fear around uttering these names, because the utterance, this is very important, it's not so much about speaking, the utterance not only awakens the whole memory, but also the responsibilities, the weight, but a good weight, you know, like the gravitas of what you're awakening or summoning or drawing back to you again. So this can also be a little bit of a painful but gorgeous process. And that's the importance of the Ren, which you mentioned. The Ren, the spoken utterance of the name, is more than just a name. It's the entity that lives with that name. So it's very sacred work. It's very holy work, taking that name back or on. And yeah, it's quite a thing actually to find the name and then say, okay, I now live by this, and I welcome everything it's going to awaken within me.
Thank you for sharing that, love. I just feel so present in my body and my womb right now. Like, I feel super activated. I know it's in the evening there for you. Our day is just beginning. We're having a sacred circle here. And I know that I'm going to be feeling this activation all day. And
you just made my little hairs come up.
I feel it. Oh, you're just exquisite. Well, so is there anything you'd like to share that you have, that the women, if they want to learn more about you and the work that you do, you know, you have your books, I know you have another one coming out. Is there anything you'd like to share with us and our tribe so that we can find you and see what you're up to and see the offerings that you have?
Well, it's very easy to find me. My website is anaiyasophia.com. I have the YouTube channel, same name throughout Facebook. Yeah, there's plenty to share. There's women's work, there's couples work, there's man's work with Pete. My interest now is really very much the voice. You know, one of my greatest inspirations is Andrew Harvey and his work with the sacred activism. So yeah, the sexuality is equally up there now with the spoken word. That's why I love that video that you sent me the other day, that young man embodying the sacred masculine, because that level of expression is what's needed now. And with the womb or the hara open, you can stand in that presence. You know, that guy, he was very believable, because I'd say he's done his, you know, the ground up journey. He's established his foundational stones in the hara. So, you know, if any lady is like, I've kind of done my womb work, I wonder what's next. Then it's to come out, beloved. It's to come out with your voice. Speak those radical things. Say what's in your beautiful soul. Challenge that which you feel is inauthentic. Be radical. Be rebellious. Yeah.
Yes, please. Yes, yes, yes to all of that. Darling. Thank you so much. I so appreciate you and everything you're doing for our tribe. We honor you and love you. Blessing, blessing, blessings to you, my love.
Love you too, Allie, and a big up to all the beautiful people you're going to be with today.
Thank you so much, my love.